Hello. Please help me welcome to the stage Erin Scott.
How to have fun while alone. Buy a 10-pack of hot dogs. Cook all of them immediately. Don't eat all of them, but deeply consider it. Walk into town of Banff alone. You are now always alone, so it seems redundant. By now, she means for a short window of time. Look out the window of your hotel room while listening to songs Ohio on repeat. Wonder if loneliness travels on sound waves. Watch family wrestle over FaceTime. The Wi-Fi is glitchy and looks like an archive, an old film. Masturbate by pushing your cunt against the hard edge of a dresser. Consider skin tearing and the consequence of 175 pounds on wood. Laugh at young girls dancing to electronic trap music near the Bow River. Is fun a mutual exchange? Ask someone if fun is only possible when intoxicants are involved. Is it cool to drink alone? Jason Molina thinks so. The someone is the addict inside herself. Stretch through a YouTube yoga tutorial. It's fun. Down dog and deep breathing. It could be said that she is not very fun at all. Fun being an idea of enjoyment, and she spends most of her time working on having more so she can worry less about how much she has. Decide it is too hard to have anal sex alone. Eat all the hot dogs. Cry. Thank you. Let's have a warm IWC welcome for Cole Mash.
My grandma used to measure when she poured us juice or split a Butterfinger. On the drive over on Highway 1, when the Coke closed, fog tunnel, emerged, learn, bad accident. I assume involved 18-wheeler. Green pine by itself in the middle of a field of sagebrush. Tree must be magic or lonely. Too much life is itself a bad thing. See famine, downtowns, too many keepsakes that aren't useful, immortal movie vampires who watched all their family and friends die over the years, etc., etc. Jaguars, cherry picks, salt licks, pop cans caught in the jugular, lymph nodes puffy with hereditary tar. All to even the field, relationality, which is just to say, we are you from the past. Our deaths were inevitable and necessary for you to read about it. Like a mother looking into a black hole saying, everyone cannot be immortal, so no one can. Fair is fair. Please welcome Erin Scott. No, wait a sec. They can't see you yet. I think I'm Erin Scott. And that's very rude to stuff a pillow in your top to make fun of my big belly.
Come on, you can't make fun of pregnant ladies anymore here?
Well, you can, but we just may not like it, that's all.
All right. I'm Cole Mash.
I'm Erin Scott. And that was us doing our greatest mocking and belittling impressions of one another's poetry. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Oh, that clapping, it's tight. It feels cinematic. I know the audience out there, you can feel it. It's strange how it all comes in over from different people's computers, and it's a feat of sound editing by our tech crew. So.
Yes, it sure is. It's so nice to be live here tonight together.
What are we doing here tonight? Is this thing?
I believe that we're here for the MetaCabaret, the pony ride. Is that right?
Yes, that's it. That's the title. right here at the top. So this is MetaCabaret, the pony ride. As always, we would like to begin by acknowledging that we are on the unceded and ancestral territory of the Okanagan Syilx people. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to create art and work and do shows like this as guests on their land. But it's also worth acknowledging that we are uninvited guests on this land, and that's something that we'll carry with us throughout the show.
Mm-hmm. And for all of our lovely viewers at home, if you wanted to go on the chat window and let us know whose land you're on, where you're zooming in from, give us a big wave and a shout out. We would love that.
Just generally, folks at home, use the chat window. Even though maybe you're going to be on mute, maybe your cameras are going to be turned off. I want you clapping in your bathroom or in front of your dog, or until your neighbor looks at you strange. Just send that energy as much as you can to our performers tonight, as it's there's a lot of empty chairs where we're filming. So
no, it's full. It's a full crowd.
It's a full crowd.
We sold out tonight.
We did it.
There was a lineup and everyone was masked. So that was good. We had good safety protocols.
The line was socially distanced though, so it started at the airport. Okay. What are we doing here?
Back into the serious business. So we are Inspired Word Café. We're an arts nonprofit organization who've been fortunate enough to receive some good funding to put on Metamorphosis Cabaret. This was supposed to happen back last March. It was about 8 days before the show was set to happen when the entire world shut down. So we're here now in November at some undisclosed, but definitely November 20th date. And one of the things that happened is, as with so many people, you lose money and everything goes haywire when the world shuts down. And so one of the other wonderful events that was also supposed to happen in April is Pony Cabaret, which is put on by the one and only Cookie, also sometimes daylights as Michael V. Smith up at UBC. And this is a yearly fundraiser for the Living Positive Resource Center. So Michael / Cookie / whoever they were that day stepped in and said, let's collaborate. Let's do something awesome together. So that's how MetaCabaret, the pony ride, came to be. And that's what you are all here tuned in for tonight. So we'd like to take a little moment to thank all of the sponsors who have made this possible: the Central Okanagan Foundation, the City of Kelowna, the Living Positive Resource Center, UBC Community Engagement Grant, and the Faculty of Critical and Creative Studies up at University of British Columbia.
We had to send the whole crew looking after all the ponies for COVID tests, though. So the ponies won't be making it tonight.
No, not tonight.
But we have a bunch of shovels just in case, but I don't think they're gonna make it tonight. But before we get started with the show, we're gonna bring up Fahmi Baharuddin, the executive director of the Living Positive Resource Center, and he's gonna say a few words. So, warm IWC Pony Meta Cabaret ride welcome for Fahmi Baharuddin.
Thank you for the lovely introduction. Hi, everybody. My name is Fahmi Baharuddin. I am the Executive Director at Living Positive Resource Center. We're a nonprofit organization that operates in the downtown Kelowna area. The majority of the work that we do is that we provide supports and services for people living with HIV, hepatitis C, and any other sexually transmitted and bloodborne infections. That includes a majority of the people that we work with includes folks who are experiencing homelessness, people who are currently using drugs, queer and trans folks, and a lot of other demographics of people as well. The work that we do avoids providing supports and services for these folks, and that could include helping them get connected to housing, helping them connected to nutrition supplements, being an advocate for their issues and their problems, trying to navigate through this wonderful thing called life. The majority of the work that we do does require a lot of outside support, and we are very, very thankful to be able to collaborate with this event. And one of the ways that you can help out is by donating to the organization. A way that you can do that is by going to lprc.ca/donate, and we do take a lot of monetary donations through that. By providing the donations, you're able to help us provide food supplements to our clients, harm reduction supplies, menstrual products, providing STI testing, and a lot of other services as well. So thank you again for doing so, and I hope you guys have a great show.
Thank you so much, Fahmi. It's really wonderful to be able to partner with an organization such as the Living Positive Resource Center. They provide a lot of really essential supports to the community. So we do want to remind you all throughout the night to please click that link. It's going to be up in the chat window, also on our Facebook page and the Inspired Word Café website to donate. Here at Inspired Word Café, we're also going to be making a $200 donation to continue to support these types of, it's not really programming, but programming within our community for people who are vulnerable. But as Fahmi said too, every single person who has sex will at some point in their life need to access some of these things. So it's vital. Okay, and now as we carry on with the show, Kendontcry is a sad and sexy drag king from Kelowna, making their performance debut here tonight. Ken has prepared an original poem titled, "What Are We, What Am I?" Please give it up for Kendontcry.
She is a girl, but she won't ever be mine. So what are we? And more importantly, what am I? Well, to her I'm a joke, like a bad joke, a dad joke, one she's heard before. I can't even get through the punchline before she runs out the door. Her ass is a windowsill. And I am a bird looking for a perch. But she doesn't want me. She just wants my worm. It's like puppy love, and I'm a golden retriever. I drool each time that I see her, and I just get more needy every time that she leaves me. She told me, stop barking up my tree. So I wait for her calls like a cat in heat. She's got me climbing the walls. She's got me clawing the sheets. But she is the pussy, stalking me, mocking me, knocking over my water glass when I'm thirsty. She's indifferent to my desire. I'm William Blake, and she's my tiger. She's like a cold water tap that I mistake for the cold one. When I reach out for warmth, she leaves me frozen. I spy her thighs in the puckered white of a snow-fallen hillside, and like an Appalachian backpacker, I climb her peaks, so divine. I cling to her because she is a trellis and I am her vine. I bear my fruit for her, but she just crushes me and makes me whine. I'm not a crybaby, but I might have shed a tear. Last night I was mid-pump when she whispered your name in my ear. I'm not a dog or a bird or a bunch of grapes. I'm you, and this has all been fake. Wait. Oh, that's her now. I need to tell her that what we are is a mistake. Hey, babe. No, I'm not doing anything right now. Sure, I could come over late. I'll be right there. What? I guess what I really am is a sucker for heartbreak. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Kendontcry. That was so great. Let's have another round of applause for Ken. Yeah, it's funny that with that one line, I was totally thinking about William Blake during that poem as well. So that was so great. Okay, so next up to the mic, we have Ari Cipes. Ari is a Kelowna-based musician co-fronting the family band the Oots, and a creative writing student at UBC Okanagan, right here at UBC Okanagan. Woo! It's fine. When not making music, he can be found at home coaxing affection from his cat Charlotte Bronte, or scanning the floor for shrooms. Just says mushrooms, but I just thought I'd maybe imply that Ari does drugs. Let's have a warm IWC MetaCabaret Pony Ray welcome for Ari Cipes.
I want a horsey the size of a kitty. The size of a kitty's what my horsey will be. For if I had a horsey the size of a kitty, the pride of the city's what my horsey would be. I really want to hear that little mini whinny on that teeny tiny horsey galloping on the lawn. I really want to feed it those little baby carrots, sing my teeny tiny horsey all my favorite songs. Hooray for my teeny tiny horsey. A dream is where I first dreamed of you. Come away with me, teeny tiny horsey. How I wish that my dream would be true. I would fashion an itty bitty saddle for my baby to straddle and ride through the park. There'd be no need for us to push along a stroller, for my teeny tiny horsey knows its way in the dark. Then me and my baby, my horsey and my lady would canter through the market, people watching us play. Hey, where'd you get that horsey the size of a kitty? So spirited and pretty, the people would say. Hooray for my teeny tiny horsey. A dream is where I first dreamed of you. Come away with me, teeny tiny horsey. How I wish that my dream would be true. I want a horsey the size of a kitty. The size of a kitty's what my horsey will be. For if I had a horsey the size of a kitty, the pride of the city's what my horsey would be. Thank you all so much. Keeping in line with the theme of ponies and animals alike, this next one is called Pets. My kitty is a sweetheart. He's sweeter than an ice cream bean, sweeter than a tangerine. My kitty is a sweetheart. He looks like a black and white penguin, as chubby as you've ever seen, eyes of emerald green. He looks like a penguin, and when he wants to go out, he scratches at the screen door. And someone has to get up at least a dozen times a day. But we love our little buddy. I have a pet turtle. I like to watch her swim around, making splishy splashy sounds. I have a pet turtle. Her name is Rowena. She's the grandmother of the house. She's little bigger than a mouse. We call her Abuelita, and we gotta change her water, or else it starts to stink. She climbs up on her rock. It's where she goes to think. We love our abuelita. We've got a lot of funny friends around, and every single time I turn around, there's a new friend coming through the door. But I always say the more the merrier. I just got a puppy Boston Terrier. The one thing about friends is you can always have more. I have a chinchilla. His name is Albert E. Most clever little dude I've seen. His actions speak volumes. I can feel him talking to me from very far away. It's like he's in my brain. He's saying, don't forget to feed me. And anytime I go out, I see his little face. It makes me want to turn around and go back to my place to be with all my little babies. We've got a lot of funny friends around, and every single time I turn around, there's a new friend coming through the door. But you know I'm really such a sucker now. I just adopted a schnauzer and a greyhound and a big old floppy-eared Bouvier. I have 6 hamsters and 3 bearded dragons too. It's like I'm in a zoo, and I never stop cleaning.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ari Cipes. The Oots are one of my favorite family-friendly bands. I've seen them perform a lot. My 2 daughters actually were fortunate enough to be in one of their music videos a couple of years ago, in which my younger daughter refused to participate in the music video and then proceeded to take half of her hair out of the bun she had in, took her shirt off, and then started marionetting their gopher puppet. So it was, you know, she had an impact on the filming of that music video, some might say. But it's a challenging thing to be funny in music, so I really give a lot of credit to Ari for his wonderful skills. All right, and with that, we move into one of our wonderful visiting authors, poets, spoken word aficionado, activist. She's a really incredibly inspiring person, and we had really hoped that we could have brought her out from Nova Scotia, but of course, circumstances have not allowed that. So we're doing a virtual version, and that will be incredible in and of itself. So Elle Jones is a spoken word poet, educator, journalist, and a community activist living in African Nova Scotia. She was the 5th Poet Laureate of Halifax. Elle served as the 15th Nancy's Chair of Women's Studies at Mount St. Vincent University for the 2017-2019 term. Her book of spoken word poetry, Live from the African Resistance, was published by Roseway Press in 2014. Elle would like to pay tribute to the many nameless and unrecognized women whose work makes it possible for her to be here today. Please put your hands together for Elle Jones.
Good evening. Peace, everybody. I'm Elle Jones, joining you from Jabuktuk, Halifax in Mi'kma'ki. I'm going to read you some poems. This first piece is one of my, about once a year, maybe, I write a page poem. This poem had a kind of synchronicity as I was running, actually, and thought of this poem and promptly got a call to find out, right as I was writing this poem, that the BLM protesters had been arrested for so-called vandalizing the statue of John A. Macdonald. So in those ways that what is in our mind is being played out in the world. So I'll start with this poem. There's a statue of your rapist overlooks the square where people gather. And high up on the hill, there's a plaque to the men who shot your father. And the knowledge of their deeds, it just passed through them like water. So another generation learns from them to rape your daughter. I heard you moved onto a street named for men who led the slaughter. And when you begged to take it down, they told you, go sit in the corner. And they say their speech is sacred and that yours just never matters. So the boot heel of the past will crush your throat forever after. But if you go get the ropes, I'll bring the bulldozer. Because what we learned from our history is how quick their idols shatter. And they taught us how to wipe away and end the day in laughter. Just like your grandmother's grandmother whispered, soon, dear, it will be over. Thank you. That's called Destruction, a love poem. I'm going to go to this poem. This poem comes from the lifers in the Black and Indigenous lifers who asked me for a poem on juries in Canada. 1 white, 2 white, 3 white jurors, 4 white, 5 white, 6 white jurors, 10 white, 11 white, 12 white jurors. It's an all-white jury again. Gerald Stanley walked out of the courtroom a free man. Shots fired through the window of an SUV. He said he was just defending his land, a hang fire. He said, just a twitch of his hand. The life of Colton Bushy, worth less than the alleged theft of an ATV. What was he doing was all they debated on TV. Shots to the head while he was lying there asleep, and so the Indigenous youth was the only one found guilty. And there were comments that he deserved it in a secret Facebook group for the RCMP and a group of Saskatchewan farmers, of course. They all agreed, and the publishing companies offered him an exclusive book deal and the jury pool. The jury pool. It didn't look like me. And there are hundreds of thousands of dollars donated to his GoFundMe. Oh, Canada, where Indigenous lives still fetch a bounty for 1 little, 2 little, 3 little. Raymond Cormier walked into court and walked out. Killing an Indigenous girl equals reasonable doubt. The only person on trial was Tina Fontaine. The Globe and Mail headline said there were drugs and booze in her veins. The cops had her stop and they waved her on through. Just like the police asked Colton Bushy's mother if she was drunk when they delivered the news, and the jury pool. The jury pool. It didn't look like you. And while Stanley and Cormier are free as a bird, Adam Capet was held 4 years in solitary until the time blurred. By the time the ombudsman got to him, he was slurring his words. They said they forgot him or what even occurred. They say that's an accident, but haven't you heard? In federal prisons, Indigenous women make up more than 1/3. And over half of the juvenile facilities and the majority in care who are taken from their families and just take a walk through maximum security or take a look round remand and who can't afford the surety. And they locked Renee Ackaby away into obscurity, but then they tell me white is the equivalent of purity. And since we can't be innocent, we should bow to their authority. We can't win. We can't win. Not when session is in. Not with histories upon histories of savages and sin. If you'll all rise for the jury, the court will begin selecting 1 white, 2 white, all white jury. You can dress as sexy Pocahontas if you want for Halloween. And Brad Barton was acquitted of murder in the 1st degree, while Cindy Gladou's vagina was displayed in court for all to see. John Wayne is still an icon of the silver screen. Birth of a Nation's been a blockbuster since 1915, and there's gated communities where Black folk aren't ever seen. When they stop us on the street, they say, that's just routine. And my friend walked into court under a portrait of the Queen. Well, I tried to buy him suits while the cops showed up in jeans. We worried he'd look guilty if he wasn't cut so clean. They couldn't show any evidence to even place him at the scene. When it came time to read the verdict, you all know what I mean, thanks to one white, two white, all white jury. And the media? Well, they said from his face, they just knew he couldn't feel. And now the system tells him that perhaps he can appeal. But on the appeals court, there's one white, two white, three white judges. We can't win. We can't win. Not when they see a black skin. And once the door locks, no one can see what happens within. They claim you could try a habeas in court, but then the institution spins. And who'll believe a criminal and what they have to say? And now my friend's been there on lockdown for 23 hours a day. And the phone calls only come when your family can pay. When they have you down in seg, the phone doesn't come around at all. My other friend broke his leg, and for weeks he had to crawl. And a third's been on a hunger strike, 3 weeks behind those walls. They spent money on more weapons, getting the guards some pepper balls. We claw our way into the halls of justice, but our voice is just too small. We can get 1 or 2 more judges, but they still write the laws. A guy tried to slit his throat and they just wrapped him up with gauze. They released a woman to a bus stop in the winter and said, that's just protocol. Just like Neil Stonechild and those prairie starlight tours. And there's another woman who set herself on fire. But when you die in a prison in my province, no one has to inquire. No charges pressed for guards who watched Ashley Smith expire. But when prisoners hit the stand, it's them they call the liars. Andrew Loku, shot by the police in 21 seconds. Freddie Villanueva executed because police said they felt threatened. Sammy Ateem, shot on a streetcar when he'd already dropped his weapon. But if a cop guns down a black man, he never has to reckon. We can't win. We can't win. The not guilty verdict is in, because it's 1 white, 2 white, 3 white jurors, 4 white, 5 white, 6 white jurors, 10 white, 11 white, 12 white jurors. It's an all-white jury again. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to switch it up a bit. This next poem is true. I actually got booed off the stage in Victoria for this poem. So I'll tell you where you can boo if you want to boo along. The premise of this poem is that Benedict Cumberbatch owes me reparations, because he does. So I talk about it in the poem, but the Cumberbatch family, Benedict Cumberbatch's family, is descendant of the slave owners in Barbados. My grandmother is a Cumberbatch. So Benedict Cumberbatch's family owned my family, and owes my family as well. So I talk about it in the poem, and here we go. Dear Benedict, I just wanted to write you this letter to send you my address. I'm still waiting on my check. And The Hobbit and Star Trek did pretty well, so I'm guessing you got the cash, Benedict. So tell you what, you send me a money order with my reparations, and I'll send you an invitation for a family reunion. We can hold it on the Cleland Plantation, Barbados. It will be like coming home. Well, at least the house for you and the field for me. But those are just details we can work out later. Your side of the family and mine can finally catch up. We can chat about how racist it is that Matthew McConaughey won the Oscar instead of 12 years a slave, or wait, maybe that's kind of an awkward topic for conversation, given the circumstances and all, because my grandmother was a Cumberbatch too, Benedict. Oh, how can that be when she didn't look Scottish? Well, you see, that ish went down like this. My great-great-great-great-great-grandmother was snatched from Africa and bought by your great-great-great-great-great-grandfather to cut the sugar cane. He gave her his name, so it's kind of like we're relations. Ben? Can I call you Ben, cousin? Or is that too close too quick? Maybe you just need a little time to adjust to the darker side of the clique. But look on the bright side, Ben. If someone ever calls you racist, you can say, I can't be. Half of my family is black. You see, we've got your back now, cousin. A whole new Cumberbatch of black relations, and you can meet us all because we all could use some reparations, so we're cheering you on to success, Benedict. Nobody wants you to have those blockbuster hits more than us. I heard your mom was scared we'd come through the cusp, but we're not trying to make you bankrupt. I'm just saying a cut of that trust fund could make our lives improve, cousin. And maybe we're like a dozen times removed, but it's kind of weird for me to dealing with some issues too. I mean, I should be blood with someone like Chiwetel Ejiofor, and I can't even pronounce his name. But every time I see those credits roll, there's my family name on screen, and I want to be proud, but that's some confusing shit to process. So I'm just trying to announce I'm dealing with some heavy feelings too. You know they say family over every, so let's get together and start talking amounts. But I know this is kind of awkward for you because you know you're probably not all Caucasian, right? And your hair's looking kind of wavy there, Benedict. Might be a touch of the slave there's all I'm saying. Maybe your great-great-great-great-grandfather stuck his Benedict into one of my ancestors and now some fraction of you is African too. Oh, don't worry. I'm not trying to put your career down to affirmative action or anything. You can still be an actor who happens to be Black and not a Black actor. I know you just want to be appreciated for your talent, so we don't have to get into identity politics, Benedict. Nobody will say you only got on the most beautiful people list because they needed some diversity. And if some of your fangirls act a little less thirsty because, ew, they don't do Black guys, at least now there'll be rumors you have a huge Benedict. This is where people started booing, and I use that joke twice. And there probably won't be as much fan fiction and stuff written about you because it's kind of hard for people to acknowledge us as human, but at least you got to enjoy like 400 years of white privilege before you had to encounter this shit. And I'm not saying it's your fault, Benedict. I know your hand never held a whip, but I can't help but notice that you attended Harrow. Tuition costs £33,000 a year there. Wow, that's kind of a lot, Benedict. And my wallet is looking kind of narrow. How many pounds of cane did my ancestors cut and lift to build that account? So don't we deserve our portion of the spoils? Just a little bit? You have to admit, you did benefit from the extortion of our labor, so it's only fair to give us our share of your fortune. P.S., and this is the God's honest truth, my family stole some of your family shit when we rampaged through the big house after we chased you out, so if you need any monogrammed silver knives to make up the set, I can get you that, Benedict. There's a big C on the handle so we never forget. We bring them out on fancy occasions. We're just waiting for you to send us our compensation. Let's make it easy and say $1 million a plate. I'm not greedy. I can take payment by wire transfer, direct deposit, or cash in hand. So let's balance my bank statement and then we'll really have a celebration. So Benedict, it's all on you. I know you can come through. Give me my reparations. Signed, L. Jones, descendant of Zilla Cumberbatch, emancipated from slavery now for 5 generations. Thank you, everybody. All right, I'm going to do a couple more poems. I'm going to do this poem and then I'll leave you. This is actually part of a bit of a series on like using children's rhymes and stuff to talk about state violence. You heard it in White Jurors as well. So this is Police Brutality Bingo. It's a game that anyone can play. It's on at least 3 times a day. From Florida to Toronto is Police Brutality Bingo. It's in both official tongues. Montreal cops got guns. Just tune into the news. Any channel will do. Twitter and your Facebook page. And if Black people don't want to engage, you can comment without an intro. Police Brutality Bingo. So let's review the lingo. Police Brutality Bingo. There's so many ways you can win, as long as you have white skin. If you're ready, we can begin. Just fill the reasons in. B1 must have run. I2, what did she do? N3 shouldn't sell CDs. G4 reach through the door. O5, it's their fault they're not alive. Bingo, they're not alive. He had something that looked like a knife. Shouldn't have carried the gun down the aisle. Shouldn't have played with a BB outside. Well, he didn't look like a child. You can play the columns or the rows. Police Brutality Bingo. Well, he had a wide set nose. Should have worn those clothes. Should have worn that hoodie. Should have shown her ID. Should have kept her hands in sight. Shouldn't have asked for her rights. Was probably suicide. Shouldn't have been in that cell. The body cameras will tell. Oops, seems they were erased. Sorry, the footage misplaced. Shouldn't have reached for your phone. Whatever you did, you should have known. Must have done something the tape cut out. Benefit of the doubt, even if police were in the wrong, only idiots don't play along. Should have shown respect. What do you expect? And on it goes. Police Brutality Bingo. We can go for the whole card. The police job is so hard. Shouldn't have stolen cigars. Shouldn't have been in that car. He's been pulled over many times. Shouldn't have committed those crimes. I always do what I'm told when I'm stopped. Hashtag all lives matter. Hashtag not all cops. Should have fixed his tail light. Shouldn't speed when you drive. If their parents had raised them right, it's their fault they're not alive. It's their fault they're not alive. Then misuse a Martin Luther King quote. Police Brutality Bingo. from the bottom of the card to the top. How dare you demand no cops? Just wait till you need to call. The number of violent cops is so small. It's not the United States. We don't have the same problem with race. Shouldn't be ruining my commute. Can't support you with that attitude. White people just want to have a conversation. Seems like you just want segregation. Seems like you're the real racist. Why can't you just quietly sit? It's not the place or the time. Why don't you address Black crime? You shoot each other in Toronto, police brutality, bingo. White people, you can teach your kids. It must be something that they did. There's always something you can prove. Did they reach or did they move? Were their hands up? Did they freeze? Were they on their back or knees? Well, then they're threatening, police brutality, bingo. You can get both diagonals. Shouldn't be acting like animals. They're just trying to sue for the damages. His body was strong like a savage's. In the middle, it's a free square. Their criminal record goes there. It's always good for a smear. You can always rely on white fear. You can always call in a threat. Think how many squares you can get. He was reading suspiciously long. Must be doing something wrong. Just didn't look like they belong. Better call 911. Nothing to do with me, though. Police brutality, bingo. Whole family can join in the fun. You can pass your racism on, and that's how the cycle runs. It's a game that's never done. You can hang your cards on the fridge, free square, white privilege. You can put them back when you're bored, turn off the news report, put Black people out of your mind till you're ready to play next time. That was such a long time ago. It's time to move on, and that's how this whole thing goes. Police brutality, bingo. Thank you, everybody. I'll do one last poem for you. This is a remix of Good Night Moon, the poem that people may be familiar with. So this is a remix. It's called Good Night Jail. Sorry, I'm just trying to pull it up on my phone. All right. In a provincial jail, there's a little room with a toilet and a sink and a smell of mildew, and a slit of a window with a sliver of the moon, and a radio on a shelf playing a tune, and a metal cot, and a metal slot, and a night that's either too cold or too hot, and an officer in the spot by the stairs, and 3 more guards sitting in chairs, and the shadow of the laws that put people in there, and the eye of the camera watching you sitting, and a photocopied picture of your mother and children, and a heart with a hole for the loved ones you're missing, and restless dreams where you wake up shivering, and a door with a lock, and a window with bars, and a corner of the sky showing just 1 star, and a comb, and a brush, and a toilet that won't flush, and a guard on his rounds ordering, hush. So good night, room, like a little tube. Good night, window, radio, good night news, good night cot, good night slot, good night down in solitary where the world forgot, good night sheets tied up in a knot, good night bad dreams and regretful thoughts, good night clanging doors in the camera shot, good night locks, good night clocks, good night countdown to the day you get out of the box, good night mildew, good night mold, good night lights on all night down in the hole. Good night heart with its little hole. Good night heat. Good night cold. Good night foam mattress. Good night comb. Good night to the rumpled picture of home. Good night dripping sink and toilet that won't flush. And good night to the officers ordering, hush. Good night patrols. Good night stare. Good night outside. Good night air. Good night love. Good night care. Good night prisoners everywhere. Thank you, everybody. Peace. It's me, Elle Jones. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elle Jones, for joining us virtually from Nova Scotia. It's so wonderful to hear some political, inspiring words that I feel get me fired up and wanting to make some change in this crazy world that we're all living in here today. With that, though, we're going to change the mode, change the tempo, change the amount of clothing that one has on their body. for our next performer. I've been so lucky to have established a really wonderful relationship with our next performer. She, he, they, them, whoever they are, in all of their everything is marvelous, truly marvelous, and one of the most sweet, tender-hearted, snake-tongued people you'll ever meet out there. The creator of Pony Cabaret, who does a lot of really, really wonderful work in the LGBTQ community. Without any more pandering to their already large enough ego, Miss Cookie is the cheeky alter ego of Michael V. Smith, a self-described fuzzy drag queen. You might know her as the hairiest girl in town. I will challenge you on that. Cookie is the host of the annual Pony Cabaret, which, as you know, we are partnering with here tonight. She's here to tell us one of her favorite family stories. Please put your hands together for Miss Cookie Lahore.
Hi, girls and boys and everybody in between. I'm Miss Cookie Lahore. I'm very excited to be here. This is always one of my favorite events of the year when I get to be on stage. I mean, when I get to come to the MetaCabaret. And I'm super excited that we did this with Pony. Erin Scott and Cole Mash did all the labor of organizing this on my behalf. I just get to stick my name on it. And a little bit of funding that I got. So I'm super grateful for them. They're genius people in the community. Everybody who's been helping out with Pony and MetaCabaret are just amazing. So my big love goes out to all of you. I was saying it's very hard to be a almost 50-year-old on camera. Oh my Jesus Lord, I haven't worn this Budweiser bathing suit in forever. And but whatever, you know, I love my body because it's the only one I have. And whenever I was sitting here watching people perform, it's been a lot of fun. It's so great to be in the audience, even though there are only 7 of us. And I thought, oh, I touched my face accidentally. So I went to the bathroom and I did a little touch up because my lips were just a little bit wet. And I thought, oh, I'm going to get rid of this little spot. And oh, let me fix my junk. And then I put lipstick on my white bathing suit before I came on stage. So it just goes to show that perfectionism is always the death of whatever. Budweiser bathing suits. I'm sure I'm not the first person to ruin their Budweiser bathing suit with lipstick. Maybe the first boy. I wore the Budweiser because I wanted to channel my father, and my father was a big alcoholic. So much so that my boy name is Michael, and he didn't want to call me Michael. I think the logic was, if I'm going to have a fag son, I'm going to at least call him a name that I can appreciate. Mickey. He could have just called me Bud, but a Mickey was always a little bit better of a time. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, so I'm summoning in my father, so at least the ghost of my father could see me in drag performing. He never actually saw me in real life. He died on... Well, for me, he died on November 29th, 8 years ago. It'll be the 8-year anniversary next week. But it was a little after 9 p.m., and he's in Ontario. So it was after noon. No, sorry, November 29th in Ontario. But it was actually November 28th for me. It's such a weird thing that my sister had him die on one day, and I had him die on the other day. But he died at the same time. He only died once. Anyways, so I'm summoning my father to tell these stories because it's a good family story. I really love this story. And I thought, okay, well, why not do it because the anniversary is coming up. I want to tell you 2 things really about, it's kind of like 2 quick little stories about my dad. The first one is Dad and I had such a complicated relationship because, well, you know, look at me. And he was a mill worker, so... Yeah, wearing a Budweiser bathing suit is probably the butchest he's ever seen me. I never drank Bud, so this is a bit of a fake. So anyways, what was I talking about? Oh, Jesus. It's even weirder when it's a live audience. You can always make fun, but all the people are out there are like, what the fuck is she saying? I don't have any clue. Oh, yeah. So Dad used to go to this bar called Chez Louise. He lived in Cornwall, Ontario. He was a super blue-collar guy. He lived in a small town. His name was Mike Smith, which is the most generic fucking name imaginable. And he named me Michael Smith. It's actually why he called me Mickey, was because his name was Mike, and they called me Mickey. So he used to go to this bar called Chez Louise, and he was a pretty decent pool player. He played pool quite often. He taught me how to play pool, and I'm actually not a bad pool player myself. It's one of the few things I can do. Pool and fishing are two of the things that I can actually do, sort of like to fake it. And Dad told me this story that he was at the bar hanging out, and some guy, they only had one pool table, some guy was a bit of a pool shark. He pretended that he didn't know what he was doing, and he put his money down early in the afternoon. And all the men came in, and he kept playing them one by one, and he was always just a little bit better than they were, so that it looked like maybe they were going to win, and then he would win and he would get the money. I think you only get you put your dollar down on the edge of the pool table. So if you wanted to play, all the little loonies would be lined up on the side of the pool table. And he just kept taking the loonies one after the other. And whoever won the round, what do you call that? Whoever won the game, is a pool game? Yeah. Whoever won the game of pool continued to play. So you always play the winner, right? Maybe there are some other fags out there who don't know this. So I'm telling you. The lesbians sure know. Dykes know how to play pool. So Dad watched this guy all afternoon, one by one, collecting the dollars from somebody, and he got really frustrated. He said, I didn't really feel like playing pool, but I got so sick of this guy. So he didn't say it quite with that voice, but you can imagine. So he put his dollar down, and when it came to Dad's dollar, Dad played him. And we were eating pork chops when he told me this story, and there was this long pause, and he started chewing on a piece of meat. And I was like, okay, well, how good was he? Was he any good? And Dad just looked at me and he said, not good enough. And so Dad got to be the winner, and then he just let the next two people play. And that was my dad. I thought, man, that we did not have a lot of close memories in my lifetime, but that's one where Dad's actually the hero of the story. So that's a little precursor to Chez Louise, to the actual story, because I have 7 minutes, so I've got about 3 more, maybe 2.5. One day, Dad was at Chez Louise, and he was drinking beer with some guy he didn't know. And Dad, he was unemployed for quite a bit of the time. Cornwall had a lot of mills that closed because of free trade, and the economy just never took off. They had a Domtar paper mill, and that really interfered with businesses coming in because sulfur mills smell bad. So Dad was in and out of jobs quite often. He was a really good worker, but he was underemployed. And his dentures broke. He had he had bottom and top, but the top dentures broke in half. He tried gluing them back together with crazy glue, which, isn't the kind of thing you want in your mouth, but they didn't last very long because it's a lot of pressure when you're chewing. And so he didn't have any upper teeth for about 2 years. And he told me that one day he was having drinks with this guy at Chez Louise, and he didn't know the guy. And they got to drinking, and they got pretty loaded. And the guy, they were talking about teeth or whatever, and Dad really wanted to eat corn on the cob. He always said it was the first meal he was going to eat whenever he got his teeth back. And this guy said, well, maybe I can help you. And I looked at Dad, and I was like, was he a dentist? And he was like, no. And I was like, okay. And he said, wait for it. And he said, so we jumped in a cab because we'd both been drinking, and we went to his work, and it was a funeral home. He was a mortician. And he brought me into the funeral home, into the basement, down where they do all the work of working on the bodies, which nobody gets to see. And I was like, okay, this is really fucking weird. And he's standing in the middle, like with the trays where the things drip, the table where all the blood pools out and all the equipment. Everything was really clean, right? Because it's funeral home, it has to be, but it was creepy. And he said, okay, just a minute. And he left me alone in the room, and he went out to the other room and came back with a bucket full of teeth. He had the teeth of the dead in the bucket, a bucket full of teeth. And I was like, well, what did they look like? And he said, they were all in individual baggies. And I was like, Jesus. So you had to pull them out of the baggie? He said, yeah, and then there was an elastic around them. So you had to open up the baggie and pull the teeth out and take the elastic off. And the guy gestured to the bucket and he said, you're welcome to any ones you want. So Dad took off the motherfucking, I'm serious, took off the elastics, pulled the teeth of the dad out of the bag, took the elastics off, shoved them in his mouth, trying to find a pair that fit. None of them fit. He was probably only trying on the top denture because his bottom ones were fine. None of them fit. And I said to him, well, like, what did you do then? He was like, well, nothing. They didn't fit, so I just didn't get any teeth. That's not exactly the hero story of, I could have told them in the other order, but this is definitely the better story. That's the genius of my father, the generic Mike Smith. I really want to thank everybody from the Pony Cabaret and the MetaCabaret and everyone who's been hanging out here tonight, all the people in the audience and all the other performers for helping support the Living Positive Resource Center. They're near and dear to my heart. They do such amazing work in the community. I'm posting a little link, you've probably seen it already, so that if you want to share, and I always say the best thing you can do is you give $5 a month. That's $60 a year. And if everybody gave $5 a month, it's the cost of a coffee. And that's a huge help for an organization like this because it's cumulative. That's how it works. Anyways, you're genius people. Thanks for coming. I love you all. Bye, friends.
All right. Thank you, Cookie, for sharing that lovely family story with all of us. I feel like I need to brush my teeth or something now. I always think of my grandpa when I think of dentures. My grandma and my grandpa just their teeth rotted fairly early in their life because it was the 50s and everyone smoked and so they just went full dentures in their 20s, which seems super insane to me. I couldn't imagine having dentures right now. Or 10 years ago, whatever. But he always used to take them out, and then he'd make gummy faces at me with no dentures in. So dentures, the prop that keeps on giving. Okay, so here we are. We're almost towards the end of our show here on November 20th. The American election is almost 3 weeks behind us. Trump is doing something after the election. He's somewhere, and Biden is doing something else. And what a ride that was, huh? The outcome, I saw it coming personally, but I wasn't surprised. Okay, so next up to the screen we have another performer, like Erin said, that was supposed to come to Kelowna. We were really stoked to have her come out and perform. Obviously, again, that wasn't really able to happen, but we're so happy to have her come in digitally. She's been working with the mode of the video poem the last while, and so I think there might be some sort of video poem, maybe some traditional spoken word being read as well. So, but Tanya Evanson is going to join us. Say the name, Cole. Tanya Evanson. Tanya Evanson is an Antiguan Canadian poet, performer, producer, and arts educator. She is the director of the Banff Centre Spoken Word Residency. Over a 20-year career in spoken word, she has performed at festivals in over a dozen countries, published 6 artist books, 4 studio albums, and 3 video poems, including the award-winning Almost Forgot My Bones. Her first novel, Book of Wings, comes out with Vehicle Press in 2021. She moonlights as a whirling dervish. Let's have a big, warm IWC Meta Pony Welcome Cabaret. Tanya Evanson, everyone.
In the name of all compassionate sounds, from all those who come before will come again, I implore you, allow us this. Now first, are you wearing comfortable clothing? For this exercise, let nothing distract you. In the name of all compassionate sounds, if your jeans are cutting off your circulation, come again, I implore you, allow us this. Nothing inappropriate, my friend. Now first, are you wearing comfortable clothing? Next, make sure you're sitting down. For this exercise, let nothing distract you. Let go of your phone. It's all right. If your jeans are cutting off your circulation, undo the top legs, hips. Nothing inappropriate, my friends. Toes, vanish. Push the next, make sure you're sitting down. Let go of your from side to side. You listen to the voice inside you. Nose, not my voice. Vanish. Push your voice. Doing the same. Sway gently from side. Everything is flowing down. Listen to the voice inside yourself. Not my voice. Inhale. Your voice. The same. Exhale. Slow. Everything. Flowing. Stretch out your arms up. Take a deep breath in. Inhale. Exhale slow. Your hand, the cup in your lap. Cup in the thigh. Shoulder. Waist. Neck. Position.
This poem is called Temple Exercises. From my heart to your heart. Of course, it's dedicated to anyone who's ever taken care of a parent who was ill. Physiology flutter, atrial fibrillation, brother. Repetition rhythms, extra beats, we all have it. We all have it. See, my father's heart green on a black ultrasound screen. He'd been up to Montreal from his girlfriend Caribbean. He crossed the Quebec hospital Sistine system and still sick of it. Dad's knee tried to get itself together in the thick of it. Stiff knee swollen, broke, but it was the heart that needed attention. As oldest child in the family, I was given dervish duties in the temple and training began in the kitchen. Meditating on need for days. Food was brought, requests were made to relieve the bowels. Clean it, cook it, move it, doctor, pray, wash, sweep, repeat. Clean it, cook it, move it, doctor, pray, wash, sweep, repeat. Physiology flooded, atrial fibrillation, brother. Repetition rhythms, extra beats, we all have it. We all have it. Now that day my father lay on his left side shirtless, elbow to hand, whole head up, hospital bed. Ultrasound machine, running jelly clean across his black nativity chest. Dad, the doctor, became a very patient. And now cardiologist, brother, he'd jump a green screen and say, look at that heart valve. It open and close like a Mercedes-Benz sign. I say, no, it's a vagina, yo. He said, oh, it's got extra beats though. Extra beats though. It's okay, every heart has extra heartbeats. Physiology flutter, atrial fibrillation, brother. Repetition rhythms, extra beats, we all have it. We all have it. We all have it. We all have it. Now 4 chambers in the heart, making chamber music, hit, hop, 2 atria pump in, 2 ventricle out, simultaneous. Left side separate from right. The 2 never communicate but to turn vascular music to life. Flight, wind, wave, nothing constricts at once, the heart contracts and relaxes like a dog fist getting things done. Even from stem cells in a petri dish. Heart cells be on and on and on and on. Physiology flutter. Atrial fibrillation, brother. Repetition rhythms, extra beats, we all have it. We all have it. We all have it. We all have it. My heart is the mud musket Jenne, beating for the universe itself. Every year the rains take it and faith alone rebuilds it. My heart is the pyramids of Kush and the entire complex of Giza and Teotihuacan and Angkor Wat. My heart is the very Uluru, the original dome of the rock. And Mecca at Hajj, well, that's just us dancing around our own soft, black stone. The Wailing Wall says, lean in and kiss me. Lhasa is a mountain gym. And the Ganges say, get naked and swim. Now Stonehenge says, look up at sky. As I fly to you on island with your heart medicine in a box, Father. Physiology flooding. Atrial fibrillation, brother. Repetition rhythms, extra beats, we all have it. We all have it. We all have it. We all have it. Out of all my temples on earth, visit my grave at Giza and ask for Mat, the mother of truth. She will weigh your heart against a feather. Father, physiology flutter. Atrial fibrillation, brother. Repetition rhythms, extra beats, we all have it. 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 I repeat, retreat to the most sacred point, 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 the heart, the heart, the heart, the heart. Listen to know, know to do, do to progress, progress to arrive, arrive to find, find to lose, lose yourself. Listen to know, know to do, do to progress, progress to arrive, arrive to find, find to lose, lose yourself. Lose yourself to be found, let yourself be found by yourself. Find yourself again to know yourself to love and love to be loved. Lose yourself to be found, let yourself be found by yourself. Find yourself again to know yourself to love and love to be loved. Then everything will become clear. Everything will become clear. Everything will become clear. Listen to know, know to do, do to progress, progress to arrive, arrive to find, find to lose, lose yourself to be found, let yourself be found by yourself, find yourself again to know yourself to love, love to be loved. Then everything will become clear. Everything will become clear. Everything. It's easy to be a Christian with Christians. It's easy to be a Sufi with Sufis, Buddhist with Buddhists. It's easy to be a white supremacist with white supremacists. The question is, how do you cross? How do you cross? How do you cross? What is it to be a person of color if you act capitalist? if you have no traditions that connect you to the earth or the stars. When you practice remembering, some people won't like it. The human being has a hard time remembering itself, its own divinity, its own cosmic ancestry, its own sacred dot. Spinning like a planet is easy. Being still inside that whirlwind is the goal, and don't you forget it. There are many practices for remembering, hundreds in fact. Choose one. If it is correct for you, then you will be left done. That is to say, you will do the practice and then it will do you, until there is no practice, only truth, in every step, every sound, every move. We are so far from remembering. Those that do tell of a truth steeped in shit and rape and butchering. Is this balance? When everything is supposed to be balanced? No matter created or destroyed, say the physicists. What is. How to accept this isness, this fullness. 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 It's all in the psychological, all in the mother mind. Mother is the most flexible. She gave birth to you. Why can't we be like that?
La 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 la
All right, thank you, Tanya. That was so wonderful. What a way to close the show. What a group of performers we had tonight. It was such an amazing show, such an incredible experience to be a part of, and I'm so thankful that we are actually able to put this on in some capacity. There's so many people to thank, so much that goes into an event like this, especially considering we had an event that was a week out, totally done and organized, and now we've had to organize the second event. We want to thank the IWC Collective for their tireless work, all of the performers who sort of jumped through various digital hoops to get their work seen tonight. All of the audience, you've been so great. Thanks for coming out and donating. We hit our goal of $80,000. No, we didn't.
We paid Fami's salary.
We did it. So that we have our sponsors to thank: the City of Kelowna, the Living Positive Resource Center, Central Okanagan Foundation, the Faculty of Creative and Critical Studies at UBC Okanagan, and UBC Community Engagement. So thanks. Let's have a round of applause for all of those people. Yeah.
Awesome. We also, a part of this grant, well, first, I do want to say another thank you to Michael V. Smith for partnering us with Pony. Pony Cabaret is one of my absolute favorite events of the year. I always get to typically perform something weird and strange that I wouldn't normally do, and Michael is hilarious on stage. So thank you again to Michael for partnering with IWC and the Living Positive Resource Center.
I usually get to pretend I'm a bartender at that event.
Yeah, you do every year, yeah. And you get lots of tips. The LGBTQ crowd, they like cool mash.
And people give me money.
A part of the Metamorphosis Cabaret original plan was to also have Elle Jones and Tanya Evanson give in-person workshops, which would have been beyond incredible for our community of artists and creators. I won't say it anymore, but of course it's gone virtual. But we're having those tomorrow, so please check the Facebook page, our inspiredwordcafe.com page for more info about those two workshops. Elle will be doing one from 10 a.m. till 11:30, and then Tanya will be doing one from 1 to 2:30. And these are totally free, accessible to all ranges of writing styles, practices, and stages in your creative career, or even just if you do it because you love it. So please check those out. And without further ado, we always have our wonderful founder who says this line to close everything off. And I think now, more than ever, it's really, really important to take this type of idea, this mantra, to heart. So please have a wonderful evening and be gentle with yourself so you can be gentle with someone else. Thank you and good night.